Hello everybody, Ace here, giving it to you straight with day 12 of the vlog challenge. And today we're going to talk a little bit about learning how to listen better. About 9 months ago, I went to a podcasting expo in Orlando, Florida called PodFest. My buddy Scott Winston was there. He's a brilliant business mind and just a wonderful mentor and a wonderful guide. And I was telling him a story about how a couple years back when I was in the gym, I met a man from Philadelphia. He was about 55. I think he was 65 years old. Great shape, had a lot of zest for life. And when I find people like that, I like to pick their brains and learn a little more of, how can I be, what can I do today to get to where you are at your age? And something he told me I needed to learn to do better was I needed to learn to listen better. Now, being someone who speaks as much as I do, and if you know me, I don't stop talking, and I have never stopped talking. Again, why I make these videos. I don't think anybody really wants to listen to me that I know anymore. But anyway, as I was talking to this man, I knew what he was saying rang true. It resonated. I knew that I was always waiting my turn to speak, and that I truly needed to start listening to people and not just hearing them before starting to talk. And so that's what I worked on for about the last 4 or 5 years, was just learning how to listen better, observe more, and I've been able to do that. And so I'm telling Scott this story, and he goes, Adam, he goes, you do need to listen better, but I don't think he was talking about listening to other people more. I think he was talking about listening to yourself more. And it just stopped me, right? It stopped me dead in my tracks. We were by the bathrooms going away from the breakout sessions at the World Marriott, I believe it's what it was called, a beautiful, beautiful hotel. And I just said, I never thought of that. I mean, I've pondered it, I guess, in passing. I felt that that's something that needs to happen, but I never really considered that that's a mechanism I could work on to help myself grow. And then COVID hit, and I had nothing but time to spend with myself and actually listen. Man, the moment I really stopped and started to breathe and spend time listening to myself instead of always thinking and plotting and strategizing and whatever it is that this mind does 24/7, what if I directed it to truly listening to myself? And what does that actually mean? What does that entail? It means listening to your body. What we don't understand about these human bodies is they're really vehicles. They're vehicles for us to experience ourselves through and create. We create with our words, we create with our hands, we create simply by being in people's presence, we create love and we create comfort. We're creator beings, that's why we're here. But we've been manipulated into believing that we are these drones that need to work 12-hour days pushing paper just so that we can make a living, to make it through, so we can sit on our cell phones to get through to the weekend, and then spend the majority of the weekend either poisoning ourselves or trying to recover from the week of 50, 60, 70 hours of doing monotonous, soul-draining activities, whether that's school, whether that's actual jobs, whether it's careers, work. That's why we always look for those people that have a zest for life and they're thriving and they're doing what they love. It's a novelty. We don't see it often. And what I'm learning is because we don't listen to ourselves. Like, again, the universe is constantly, if we can stop, become a little more humble and more observant, we can actually start seeing the synchronicities of the universe pointing us in the directions we need to go, instead of us trying to figure it out or trying to do this framework, trying to do that. I mean, it's incredible what I've learned about the Akashic Records, which the Akashic Records apparently, allegedly, through my research and what resonates with me, may not resonate with you, but I truly believe we sign a contract with ourselves before we come into this life. We want to do this, this, and that. We want to look like this, this, and that. We want to experience this, this, and that. And then generally, this is kind of like quests we have. If you want to look at it like an RPG of a video game, these are quests and side quests, and then you come to Earth and you start you go onto your massive multiplayer online role-playing game, giant LARP, and you go through and you try to figure yourself out. You try to learn who you are. You try to discover your skills. You try to unlock powers. I mean, it literally is an RPG, and we've been manipulated into believing that it is a dystopian nightmare. That's exactly what's happening right now. But at the same time, if you can break free of the matrix, it's not. And it literally, you can step in and step out. You can step in, you can step out. And so learning to listen to our bodies allows us to play this RPG more efficiently and effectively. And instead of having to respawn with no money and no armor, and you have to go back and redo a lot of the stuff that you just did and spend hours of gameplay, now you don't have to spend years of your life smashing your face against every wall trying to figure it out, when if you just stopped, breathed, listened to yourself, you would realize that you already have a plan in place. And through surrender and acceptance and self-discovery, you can continue moving forward and enjoying the road. I was miserable for 30 years. I made it the most miserable path possible. And I don't understand why. I believe it's because I truly didn't believe I deserved anything better than misery. That's what trauma does. That's what PTSD does. That's what a life of difficult growth and evolution does. But what that also does is it teaches us, and it molds us. And if we can not take things personal and we can become a player in our realities, then that stuff just becomes armor and weapons and upgrades and experience points for us to grow our characters with as we continue moving forward, taking on new challenges that are more difficult, but in a way they become easier because you're working the muscles that are required to be successful on your journey. Listening to your body, it'll tell you what it needs, not what it wants. You know what you want, and you give yourself what you want all the time, and then we make excuses for why we give ourselves what we want. And I'm not saying what we want in a good way. You know what I'm talking about. We give ourselves what we want and then excuse why we feel like shit. We drink this alcohol because it was a rough week, and then we spend 2 days hungover and we're saying, I shouldn't have done that. Why did I do that? And then we beat ourselves up. Or I shouldn't have ate that big meal. Or I wish I wouldn't have ate that cookie last night. Or I wish I wouldn't have went out last night. Or I wish I wouldn't have spent that money on that dress the other day. Or the list goes on. And so if we start listening to our bodies for what it needs, we begin to realize we don't need a lot. We need attention. We need to put healthy things in our bodies, such as a lot of water, a lot less sugar, a lot less processed carbs, because it's not just about aesthetics. It's about brain health. It's about systems health. It's about the entire function of the vehicle. Why would you put ethanol gas in a Ferrari that needs racing fuel? If you want to be a Pinto, put Pinto fuel in it. If you want to be a Ferrari, you better maintenance, upkeep, everything's got to be on. You got to invest, and invest in the right ways. Don't invest in the rims. Don't invest in the tints, the sound system. Don't invest in the paint. You can, but that's not going to get you where you're trying to go. But you invest in the engine. You invest in the little things, such as the oil you choose to put on, the brakes you put on, the little stuff that keeps everything going. And as you start to feel good and you start to realize, wow, I do deserve to feel good. I do deserve to heal. And I'm really liking how this feels. You continue to make the right choices. And if you hit that threshold for goodness, which I talked about in my first video, when you hit that threshold for goodness and all of a sudden now you're finding yourself self-destructing, now you have a red flag, now you have an area to explore when you're sitting with yourself, listening to yourself, and you're asking yourself, why am I hurting myself when I feel so good? And either you get an answer or you can choose to get help. I chose to get help until I was able to start finding my own answers. And even now, when I feel like I have all the answers, I still go to therapy because it's good to go talk to somebody that's not your own echo chamber. It's a little bit of validation every once in a while. because we need to be vulnerable, but we live in a society where everyone is scared to be themselves and they're scared to be raw, real, authentic, and vulnerable. And so nobody is really telling the truth about anything. And because nobody's telling the truth about anything, we also are all bullshitting each other, and then we're bullshitting ourselves, and we don't even know what the truth is, so we just spend all day convincing ourselves of our bullshit, and then we don't know why we're unhealthy, and we don't know why we're unhappy, and we don't know why the world is the way it is. But the world is the way it is because it's how we are, and it's how we view the world, which is how we view ourselves, because we're viewing it through this vehicle that we're treating like shit. And so I'm being a little rough, I feel, but I'm trying to be raw with it. I mean, I'm in this with you all. I'm a part of this. I literally poisoned myself until the point I could barely move or do anything. I was on this rocket ship of potential with energy, feeling good, connections, and I lost everything because I treated myself so poorly. I hated myself so much that no great relationship I made was enough, no accomplishment I achieved was enough, and no thing I was able to attain was enough, and it broke me. And so I had to be real with myself. And about March this year, I just realized, man, Adam, I may be full of shit. And as soon as I admitted to myself that I think I may be full of shit, my next level of recovery started. Because that was then I finally started standing in my truth. And that truth starts with me. And if we could be more truthful with ourselves, if we could be more truthful with one another and not get so butthurt about it and not get so upset about the fact that somebody sees us for who we are and we don't like that, if we can get over that little bit of ego, you can get triggered by it, yeah, you get mad, you can do all that, but if you can accept it, if you can trust yourself enough to accept that you're not perfect, even though you're not, and that's why we really don't like ourselves, that is how we grow. That is how we humble ourselves. That's why, to me, faith is so important, because without surrendering to something bigger than me, which I was never enough, then this life was never enough, then there was nothing enough for me to want to keep going. And so instead of checking out like we've seen a lot of people do, I decided to give it a go. I said, you know what? I did it my way for this long. I'm at least going to try it this way for that long. And if I'm unhappy by the end of it, then I can make my own decisions. And 3 years later, and I'm the happiest, healthiest human I've ever been. And I'm just getting started. And I want that for all of you. And that's why I want to make these videos. And that's why I want to share my story. And that's why I want to share these things, no matter how it comes out, how rough, how this, how that. Because it needs to be spoken now. It needs to be heard. It's time for truth. It's time to be real. It's time to be for authenticity. And if we can be real with ourselves, we can be truthful with ourselves by starting to listen to ourselves for the next decade, we can heal this entire world. It's going to take at least 20 years to undo a generation of trauma and neglect and pain. But that's okay, because time is an illusion. It is a construct to keep us enslaved. But it's also a construct to keep us organized and allow us to convene with one another in a dense 3D slow-moving world. So time has a place. The whole idea of this earth is paradoxical. As real as it is and it isn't real. As real as time is, it isn't real. As real as matter is, it isn't real. We're just oscillating balls of energy, co-creating it through a echo consciousness. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And so be easy on yourselves, but also take yourselves a little more serious. Don't take life so serious. Life's a game. It's a simulation. It's like a virtual reality training session. That's why we go to sleep every night, and our bodies need to charge, and we go elsewhere, wherever we go in dream world. We don't even know what dreams are. So some of the things I'm saying, you know what I'm saying? We don't even know what dreams are. I truly believe it's where our spirits go to like convene with our light family and with our spirit guides, and to plan and strategize for the next day. Because I swear we come down as different people almost every day. A different personality, a little different version of ourselves every day. It's a new game. It's a new world. Every time we go to sleep and come back up. And that's why our bodies need sleep. They need to reset. They need to let go of all of the gook you created throughout the day, especially our brains. And that's what cerebral spinal fluid does. And I'm going on a tangent now. So I wanted to leave you with this. Start listening to yourself. Stop being so mean to yourself. Start treating yourself with some respect. And if you just love yourself a little more each day, listen to yourself a little better each day, and actually heed what it is your body and your spirit and your heart are telling you, your life will change in 180 degrees in over a month, 30 days. Presence, no distractions. I'm so grateful for you guys. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. If you want to join the army of energy, hit that subscribe button. And if you'd like to follow me on Instagram, Conspiracy Realists on Instagram. I appreciate you all. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.